How are you doing? This is David W. Williams. And what we're going to talk about is what a real power resides, right? And what I want to do is I want to give a different perspective of this Kanye West situation because I think a lot of people have covered it from their perspective, and that's cool. But I wanted to give my perspective on it because I see the world a little bit different. I see a lot of power dynamics. I see groups. I see opportunities for groups to smash other groups and kind of make them submit to their will. And in my opinion, Kanye West kind of got caught up in that. So what I'm going to ask you to do as you watch the particular video, to go ahead and hit me with the like, share it out, let somebody know that you're getting value from it. And we're going to talk about what a real power resides, right? If you're a person in this world, do you know what a real power actually resides? And what is your perception of power? And I think a lot of people, based on how they interpret this Kanye West situation, it speaks to what they think real power is. Okay. And that's something that I've talked about with people a lot, is that we kind of condition people to have a certain perception of what they actually think power is. Where do they actually think the power actually resides? And as a result, what they look to get out of a situation is what they think the real power is. And you see that in this scenario with Kanye West around his audience, the people that are supporters of him. What do they really think the real power is in this situation? And I think when you're looking at the people that are in opposition to Kanye West, where do they believe the real power is? And as a result of their belief of what a real power is why they've been able to inflict certain things on Kanye West. And I don't think his core audience understands it. And because I think Kanye West has built a core audience of people that are, I don't want to say dumb enough, but I would say simple enough to buy his products and believe in him without understanding how the larger world actually works. And then when Kanye West ran into the larger world, he's having issues. And I think his followers and the way they perceive it is because they also don't understand how the larger world actually works. And we're going to kind of go into that. So Ray Gun, man, I appreciate the $2, man. Appreciate you for supporting the platform. GC Current, David Lee, what's going on up with it? Y'all tap in and let me know you're actually getting the audio. So the first question we want to ask, right? If you're a person in this world, and this I think really speaks to how people perceive the world based on their socialization, is the power being able to say what you want to say or be able to control the narrative around what you want said? And because when I'm watching this particular situation, because I like to do a lot of observation of environments and marketplaces, one of the things that I'm seeing is that people are coming back with, well, he told the truth, or what they're doing to him is proof of what he said. And my question is, why do you think that's the point? But everybody sees the world different. So I can't assume that a person is seeing the world through the same prism that I'm seeing, because the prism that I'm seeing the world through is based on my experiences, it's based on how I've been socialized, it's based on my belief system. But I would ask is, why do you think the point of this whole situation is for him to be right? For him to be validated as well. He said this and therefore he's correct. Or he said this and therefore their actions are a justification of what he said. Do you think that's what the game it really is? But it's many people believe that the power is that I can say what I want to say. And to me, this speaks to like this almost 6 or 7 or 8-year-old psychology, where I think my power is I can do what I want to do at this particular time. And we socialize a lot of Americans and really a lot of people all over the world that is really their freedom. Their freedom is I can express myself. Now, in our government, it says that you have a right to freedom of expression. However, to me, Kanye West appeals to the same audience that thinks that I should be able to say what I want to say on social media. Why? Because I believe I have freedom of speech. Well, freedom of speech has nothing to do with private business. It has to do with government. But they don't believe that. But then when you ask them, well, do you say what you want to say at the job? No, I just think I should be able to say what I want to say on social media. And you can't persuade them of anything different. In their mind, this is where their power is. They want to exert power on social media. They don't want to exert power in the real world. They don't want to exert power in the marketplace. They don't want to exert resource power. They want to exert power on social media. Therefore, in their mind, the battle place should be social media, shouldn't be anywhere else. And to me, that's the audience that Kanye West appeals to. Therefore, they think his comments are justified because it's one truth, and they want to argue over whether or not what he said was true, this, that, and the third, because they think that's the deal. Or they want to argue over, well, they're doing what he said he was going to do. The question I'm asking the person in the audience is that, is the power being able to say what you want to say, or the power being able to control the narrative around what you want said? Because if you study this, all of the, I believe in free speech. I believe people should have a right to express themselves. I believe that we should have dissent and discussion. The people that are on social media, do you see that none of them are supporting Kanye West on this issue? Why? Because they saw what happened to him. Because that's entertainment, right? The idea that power is two people debating over an argument is not power. Power is when you have to accept the narrative that I want you to accept, and I'm going to kind of show you that through this particular discussion. However, if you don't know what power is, you think power is, I sit on a platform and I debate with somebody over something. I had a guy on Twitter talking about he's a black conservative, or what they call a black conservative. He thinks the power is, well, I take a black person and I take a redneck and they sit down to have a discussion and see how much they have in common. My question is, why would a black person want to have a discussion with a redneck over politics? Like, what does that do for them? But they think that's an appeal because it is an appeal to certain people. It's not an appeal to me. Or I believe something and I'm supposed to jump on a YouTube platform with another guy that believes something else, and we're supposed to debate. There's nothing to debate, right? Because when I walk off that YouTube platform, I'm still going to believe what I believe when I walked on. But people think, well, that's the power, and then they pick who had the best debate platform. Like, they think that's power. And the issue is that why do you think that's power? Do you believe power is being able to say what you want to say at any given time? And that's what I want people to understand, is that his audience, their perception of power is totally different than the people that are in opposition to Kanye West and what he said. Therefore, they spend their time building power in the areas that they think are important. And the people that are in opposition to Kanye West, they spent their time building power in another area. And then we see who can exert power over the other. Kanye West has no ability to exert power over those people. Because what? They took all his social media down at one time. Therefore, and then he kept talking. Then what did they do? They started taking more things from him to get him to stop talking. Right? He can't do that to them. So his ability to talk is what? What does that mean? The fact that he can run his mouth. Is freedom of press and freedom of speech important? Yes, it is. Right? Is building your own media important? Yes, it is. It is a power, but it's not the only power. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. And I think many people have given up any other power just for that power. And then they think that's the only battlefield that they should fight in. So let's keep going. So let's talk about what happened to Kanye West and how a group and how they wanted to exert power over Kanye West, and what they did to him, to his audience, justifies what he said. But to me, it shows that their perceptions of power is different, and they don't really know where the real power resides. Right? Because the guys that told me, well, I had a particular video about something, and they were like, well, you should go to this guy's platform and debate him. I said, well, you know what? This is what we'll do. Meet me in person and we could talk about it. And I never heard anything from those guys again. Because in their mind, the only power is arguing on the internet and being right on the internet. I'm trying to be correct in the real world. On the internet, that's not that big deal to me, because I made a mistake on the last video and I still correct it. Because I'm not always right. I don't get this emotional fulfillment from, I'm on YouTube and everything I say is 100% correct. I don't get emotional fulfillment from that. I'm trying to get power in the real world with real people. And we're going to talk about that at the end of this particular video. And if you want to kind of understand how to build the real power, you want to make sure you stay to the end of the video, right? Let's go ahead and keep going. So here's the first thing that happened to Kanye West. JP Morgan cut ties with him. So he lost his bank. Now, it's not a big deal, but I think it speaks to a bigger problem, right? He lost his bank. JP Morgan decided they no longer want to do business with him. And the thing about a bank is they don't have to give you a reason why they don't want to do business with you, right? They just can decide to stop doing business with you. But I think it speaks to a larger problem that I think people are really not tapping into, because you don't want to get cut out of the financial systems of this world. You don't want that to happen to you, because the way this world is set up and the way it's been set up for the past pretty much almost 1,000 years is Kanye West can't even take his money to Africa. Why? Because those African countries are tied into the mainstream financial systems, right? So they're told in Africa, if you're in Africa and you start doing a certain level of business, you now have to attach yourself to the mainstream financial institutions. Many of the most wealthiest people in Africa, they bank with Europeans. They don't even bank in Africa. Their money leaves Africa and goes to Europe. It goes to Jersey banks in between, I think, England and France, called a Jersey bank. So therefore, their money doesn't even support the land that they're from. It leaves and goes somewhere else. Why? Because they're literally made to have to do that. This is imposed on them. They're made to feel very uncomfortable if they don't play the game this way. We have to understand this. So when they cut this man out of the financial systems, it can get real serious for him. Now, people are saying, well, he can just bank in Bitcoin. My question is, let's say he needs to do a capital expenditure for one of his businesses at 10 million. He has to turn that Bitcoin back into dollars to do that capital expenditure, do that CapEx. Who does he bank with? Because one of the things that the United States does when it does economic sanctions against people and countries is they tell the banks in the United States don't do business with this guy anymore. If you got money in those banks, you can't even access it. And then you can't transfer money between banks, right? This is one of the ways in which they engage in economic warfare against you. I'm still trying to figure out why his audience thinks the battlefield to play on is on social media, when they're cutting this guy's ability to conduct finance, internationally, nationally, things of that nature, because he may now have to go cash, which I don't know how he goes cash at that $100-something million he got. Now, where does he put his money at to not continue to conduct business? These are the things, in my opinion, people don't think about, but you don't think about it if you ain't got $100-something million sitting in the bank. The average American can't go touch 10,000. But these are the kind of issues that Kanye can run into because of he's only built power in one area, and then he don't have relationships. And we're going to kind of talk about that, because if you study, nobody is standing with Kanye except maybe Candace Owens. And she's gotten real quiet lately. See, everybody's gotten real quiet. All of the controversial people, the people that, I like to just put the truth out there, the people that, I like to have discussion. You notice everybody got real quiet. Everybody lost their voice. You study that? You starting to see who has the real power out here? They got everybody quiet, right? You just got to really, you need to observe when certain things happen, how the people that have made their brand being controversial, being provocative, how they react to the situation. And if you study, they walking all the way around the block to avoid this situation. They talking about everything else except this Kanye. I want you to really observe that. But they made their brand and their name being controversial and talking about other things that are provocative. But you see, they don't want to get involved in this, because if they can do Kanye like this, and I'm nowhere near Kanye's level, I know they can do me like this. Let's keep going now. So he told Bloomberg in September, he's severing ties with his corporate partners. It's time for him to go it alone. And you know what JP Morgan told him? Yeah, you can do it by yourself, because nobody has to bank with you. There is no rule in America that somebody has to do your banking services. So they cut him off, and now he got to figure out how is he going to do banking, especially if he's going to, quote unquote, do everything on his own that his audience is telling him that he can do. But the question is, if you're going to run a business, you got to have banking services. Who are you going to bank with? You see, PayPal right now is telling people, if we don't like what you're saying, we going to hit your account. I don't even know how they even going to find out what you're saying, but they're telling people this. This world is really starting to change on people, right? And PayPal been taking money for people for the past decade. That ain't nothing new to nobody. So now we go into the Financial Times, right? Because this is what really hit them. Now, why do I tell people to read the Financial Times? Because you're appealing to a different audience, right? This is why I tell the people that I teach trading to, read these financial publications. It's a different conversation there. Now, this guy wrote an op-ed piece on Kanye West in the Financial Times. Therefore, only certain people are going to read this. Why? Because only certain people read the Financial Times. Now, this guy has to be somebody to even get a particular op-ed piece in the Financial Times. He's not a writer for the Financial Times, but they let this guy get this message out. And they let him use this platform, right, which is a financial platform, to get this message out. Let's go ahead and go through it. Now, who wrote it? Ari Emanuel. Now, he's not a consistent contributor to the Financial Times, but they let him put this up, right? So he says it's not enough for Twitter to lock Kanye West out of his accounts. West's business partners across the fashion and entertainment industries need to speak out and take action. Apple and Spotify, which host West music and also organizes tours, and Adidas, which collaborates with West on the fashion line, should start working with him. This man in public says these organizations, these multinational, international corporations, should start working with Kanye West. The parent company of Parler, the Twitter competitor, should refuse to sell to West. Right? So this is why it's necessary for all of us to speak out. Hatred and anti-Semitism should have no place in our society, no matter how much money is at stake. According to the ADL, anti-Semitic events in the U.S. were up 34% in 2021 over the previous year. Some of West's behavior has been dismissed over time, citing mental illness. They said that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2016. However, Mr. Emanuel says mental illness is not an excuse for racism, hatred, or anti-Semitism, right? So in his mind, we're not going to use mental illness as a crutch for what this guy's saying. They're not going to deal with that, right? In 2006, Mel Gibson made an anti-Semitic remark. I immediately called on the entertainment industry to refuse to continue to working with Gibson. So what Emanuel was letting people know is this is not the first time I've called for this type of action if somebody, in my opinion, has anti-Semitic comments or expression, right? And if West would like to be educated about the history and consequences of anti-Semitism and the conspiracy theories that he's parroting, if he wants to reach out to religious leaders, including rabbis, Muslim leaders, and Christian leaders, I'll be happy to help. So what they're telling Kanye West is what? We need to re-educate you. That's the same thing they told Nick Cannon. We need to re-educate you on this issue. And we need to re-educate you to the point to where you now understand what we want you to say about these issues or what we don't want you to say about these issues. And we're willing to help you do that to make sure that you understand what the narrative has to be. Because I told you before, we're the only group that have a revolt conference, which is supposed to be owned by a black man. And you'll have a person get invited to the revolt conference to sit in front of black people and to tell black people slavery really wasn't that bad because there's been slavery all over the world. Now, let me ask you a question. Has there only been one instance in the history of the world where one group of people have been killed by another group of people? No. But you can never tell that group of people that their experience in dealing with that isn't as bad as they say it is because it's not the only time in the history of the world that it happened. They're not going to have that from you. So you got to understand is that what we allow people to do to us, other groups won't allow that. They won't even entertain it. It's a no-go for them. It's a non-starter. It can't even be brought up in conversation. It's like me, when I would go to my grandmother's house, I didn't curse at my parents' house, and you dang sure wasn't going to curse at my grandmother's house. It wasn't going to be I slipped. So these people that tell me I just curse and I can't help myself, and then I see them go to other environments and they don't curse, I know you can help yourself because when you was over there, you weren't cursing. So you know how to control yourself. It's just you telling me you can't. Right? So that's what I want you to understand is that they're not taking mental illness as an excuse. In their mind, this man is responsible for what's coming out of his mouth, and we're going to hold him responsible, and he's going to lose things as a result because he's discussing things that we have a narrative around, and we're not going to allow anybody to contradict the narrative. We're not doing it for sake of discussion. We're not doing it for a learning thing. We're not doing it because you're trying to, be provocative to try to raise your profile on social media. You're going to lose playing that game with us. Right? Let's keep going. So, but until that happens, the leaders he's doing business with need to speak up. Our clients, LeBron James and Maverick Carter, just canceled an episode of James' YouTube Talk, the little barbershop show, after West continued to repeat dangerous stereotype during filming. So what they were saying is that Kanye during that filming was repeating things that they felt were dangerous stereotypes. Hate speech should never have an audience, Maverick Carter said. So those who continue doing business with West are giving his misguided hate an audience. There should be no tolerance for West's anti-Semitism. There is a moment in history where stakes are high and being open about our values and limits is essential. Silence and inaction are not an option. So now what are they not going to allow you to do? You're not going to be able to debate with them over who's a Semite. You're not going to be able to debate with them over the definition of Semitism. They're not doing that with you. They have labeled you an anti-Semite. And if you continue to engage in this behavior, you're going to continue to lose because of what? They have the real power based on their relationships. Because he let you know in paper, in documented form, I was able to get this guy pulled off of LeBron and Maverick Carter show. Why? Because they're our clients. We have a relationship. Right? It's not, oh, I can debate on YouTube about what anti-Semitism, that's not power to them. That's power to these dudes on YouTube. Their power is that we can pull opportunities away from you until you create a narrative that we want you to create, or you just stop talking, period. But either way, you're not going to be able to contradict us in public. That's why I don't argue with people on YouTube, because I know that's not where the real power is at anyway. So here's the article from Deadline. Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel calls on companies to stop doing business with Kanye West, right? Again, there should be those who continue to do business with West are giving his misguided hate an audience. There should be no tolerance for West's anti-Semitism. He also added that Apple and Spotify should stop streaming West music. A particular danger to West's comments are its effects on young followers, Emanuel contended. West is not any person. He's a pop culture icon with millions of fans around the world, and those young viewers' ideas are still being formed. That's why it's necessary for us to speak out. Emanuel extended an olive branch, offering to broker talks with religious leaders if West would like to be educated about the history and the consequences of anti-Semitism and the conspiracy theories that he's parroted. Let me ask you a question. This guy works in entertainment, right? Big entertainment guy, okay? Entertainment puts out all kind of negative music and media around Black folks. How come he's not as offended about that entertainment and music around Black people as he is around Kanye West's anti-Semitic messaging? Let me tell you a quick little story real quick. Y'all know who JT the Bigger Figure is? Some of y'all might know him, some of y'all might not know him. He's from the Bay, right? So JT had a record deal way back in the day. Put his first album out. Put his album out, and it did well because of what he was talking about. Hustling, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. He started getting into the teachings of Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam, and he changed his life. Became a student of Louis Farrakhan. Put another album out, and what he was talking about, because he changed his life, was different than the first album. The album went out. Didn't do what the first album did. You know what them executives told him to do? You need to go back to the first album, because why? That's what's selling. Now, the first album was negativity, robbing, hustling, selling, yada, yada. But they told him, you need to go back to the music in the first album because that's what's making us money. What I want to ask Mr. Emanuel is that when you look at these entertainment platforms and all the negativity they put out around Black folks, which is a moneymaker, whether you on the political side, you on the music side, you on the radio side, whatever entertainment platform you work in, if you can create negative messages around Black people, you can make a lot of money. That's real big on this YouTube. Make a lot of money. Do you have those kind of objections to that kind of content, or do you only have an objection to where when you think it's anti-Semitism? Now, I understand he's going to protect what he thinks is important. But what's interesting is that when it comes to us, we're just supposed to accept that this kind of content is out in the media, and we just supposed to argue with people and yada, yada, yada. And they have a concerted effort to make sure people can't say certain things that they think are negative towards their group. Now, there was a guy on YouTube right now. He had the ability to do what Emanuel has done, but he chose being famous over being Emanuel, because most people don't know who Ari is. And he's really just the face of this movement. He's really not the person that called this shot. They just made him the face of it. But we don't have people that can make these kind of moves in media, because why? Everybody want to be famous. Everybody want to be the face of everything. They want to be popular. They want popularity instead of sitting back pushing buttons. Because when this is over, Ari going to go back into the cut representing his clients, doing his thing, while our desire to be famous is bigger than our desire to be effective. But that's a whole nother conversation. Now let's talk about these corporations that cut their ties with Kanye West, right? Adidas, right? Cut their ties with Kanye West. Balenciaga right, cut their ties with Kanye West. Okay. CAA, UTA, and MRC cut their ties with Kanye West. MRC had a documentary that they was going to put out with Kanye. They shelved it. Said that we cannot support any content that Apple powers its platform. Last week, he sampled and remixed a classic tune that has charted over 3,000 years, the lie that Jews are evil and conspire to control the world for their own gain. This song was performed a cappella during the Pharaoh time, the Babylonian, and the Rome time, when acoustic during the Spanish Inquisition and Russell's Pale Settlement, and Hitler took the song electric. Kanye has now mainstreamed it to the modern era. So look who they're comparing Kanye West to. They try to make Kanye West the face of anti-Semitism in this particular era. Skims and Kim Kardashian. So Kim Kardashian said Kanye is just a minority shareholder in that deal. It's not a big deal. She also came out and spoke against it. That's his ex-wife. Gap cut their deal with him, but that already happened. Foot Locker said they're going to be pulling his shoes and they're not going to be doing no more product drops. Peloton say they no longer going to play his music on their media platform. TJ Maxx said it's going to stop selling their products in the stores. Madame Tussauds in London, which is a wax museum, said they're going to pull his figure out of it. Donda just closed a particular school. My question is, if Kanye West running the school, how the school got closed? See how stuff's starting to get exposed? Kanye West told us that was his school. How the school get closed then? It's a private school. How they close the school? So all these people have cut their ties with Kanye West. We're seeing this is the fallout of what's going on with him. Right? This is the fallout. So here's the questions we want to ask the audience, right? We just went through the situation. What relationships do you have that allow you to function in business, jobs, and opportunities? Relationships, right? So this is not for the YouTube crowd that wants to argue, right, over who's right, who's wrong. He said this right, yada, yada. That's not the crowd. What relationships do you have that allow you to function in business, misspelling, my fight for the topo, jobs, and opportunities, right? Where the real power's at. Not on YouTube trying to be right. Not on YouTube making little snide comments to people. You know, trying to get the last word in the chats. What relationships do you have that allow you to function in business, jobs, and opportunity? Because what they're showing you is that they have relationships to take opportunities away from people. Even if you already have the opportunity, we could take it from you. Because of what? Our relationships. Right? Do those relationships function because people are individuals? Okay. Ari is not coming out where, well, I want everybody just to do whatever they want to do. He's giving orders to the crowd. This is what needs to be done because of what this guy did. How come you don't see these companies talking about, well, you know, we're just individuals and we're going to just do what we think is best for us at this time because we're just individuals, you know, and we don't want people policing Kanye's voice. So, you know, we're not going to be involved in groupthink. Do you hear any of those people talking about, we don't want to be members of the community? How many of these people that he's involved in have said, we don't want to be members of the community. We just want to do our own thing. How come they're not saying that to this guy? How come everybody's following line? So do those relationships work because people are just individuals? Or do they work because they got group cohesion and they move as a group? And if they say, well, we going in this direction, everybody move in that same direction. Because people are going to lose money behind this. If you got a documentary based around Kanye West, I was going to make money. They said the documentary is not coming out, which means what? We lose money on that. But to keep the group cohesion, we willing to do that. Because you know what? Ari will get us another deal down the road somewhere else. Why? Because we went along with the program. That's how groups function. Right? How come, and we're going to talk about that too. Let me go. I don't want to rush it. Would what we see happening to Kanye West happen if everybody was doing their own thing? If everybody was, I don't believe in community. I just believe in doing my own thing. Would what we see happen to Kanye West be happening? The reason why it's happening is because there's community there. There's relationships there. And people realize, you know what? We've decided to take a stand against this and everybody fall in line. Even if we lose money, you think Foot Locker not going to lose money if they don't sell his shoes? His shoes sold. You think TJ Maxx not going to lose money if they don't sell his stuff? His stuff sold. Right? So even if they lose money behind it, because we've decided to move in this particular direction, That's what's going to happen. We'll make the money somewhere else. But we're all on board with standing against this. When you look at other groups, it's, well, you know, if it make me money, I'm going to do it. Well, you know, I don't believe in community. I just believe in doing my own thing. And that's just why you got a bunch of individuals. And even though, like Kanye West, you got all this financial success, they can attack you and keep attacking you and keep attacking you. Why? Because you all by yourself. Where all his friends at? Where everybody that's just so big on Kanye? I ain't talking about these internet people. I'm talking about people that he know in real life. Where they at? He dolo in this situation right now. Everybody has forgot they know Kanye West. Because he's no good right now. He's no good. It's bad paperwork on Kanye West. So nobody can deal with him. And the word has already come down that he's no good. So everybody else separates themselves from this guy. That's how the game works. When you by yourself. So a black man from Chicago makes it in music, marries into some Armenians, moves to Calabasas, and lives this ideal. Ain't that what you're supposed to do when you black and get money? You're supposed to forget about black folks, right? You only deal with other celebrity black people that have done the same thing that you've done. Go live in a primarily Anglo neighborhood. I'm not mad at nobody for living in the best part of the city they can afford. What I'm talking about is that your desire to escape from blackness. And as soon as you get wrong with these folks, they show you that you're really not part of them because they start cutting you off at the legs. And then none of your people, your other black celebrities that you got relationships with, none of them come to your support. They just leave you by yourself because everybody's by themselves in this. Because there is no black celebrity group that stands up for each other. Everybody's on their own in relationship with that particular structure. But isn't that supposed to be the ideal lifestyle? I make it big. I don't deal with black folks no more. I go live in Calabasas. I marry these Armenians, or I marry this, marry this British guy, or I marry this other person. And, I don't deal with the community no more. They just negative. But you do deal with a community. You just don't deal with your people. And you won't go and build the relationships to where you can stand for something. So when they decide to run you over, they just run your ass over. And there's nothing you can do. But, people on the internet, they got a million ways in which Kanye West can get out of that, but they won't go build the relationships. Because my question is, who on the internet can help Kanye West? Who on the internet could come in and be an assistant to Kanye West in real life, not on the internet? Nobody. They just can buy his shoes. Other than that, they can't do nothing for that man. That's the situation he in. Because you spent the last 15, 20 years separating yourself, right, from a group that can help you and building that group power. Because if you study Kanye West, he don't be with No ID no more. Y'all don't know who No ID is. I do. He don't be with GC no more. Y'all don't know who GC is. I do. Right? He just totally separated himself from everybody else, but then he used black people to buy his products, but he don't really deal with black people like that, and he don't deal with a black group that got power. So now that he's no good, his bad paperwork out on Kanye West, he all by himself. Because you see Candace Owens don't stop supporting the man because she realized, I'm going to mess up my media situation messing with this dude because the people he got a problem with, they not like black people. They got real power. I can antagonize black folks. I can't antagonize these people. They got real power. So the media career that I want to have, they'll derail that if I keep standing with Kanye. So I got to let him go. That's how the game works. Next question. How come LeBron and Rich went with Ari and not Kanye? How come? How come LeBron and Rich went with Ari and they didn't stand with Kanye? Because they understand relationships. Ari can do more for them than what Kanye could do. And they don't feel the repercussion from black folks by not dealing with Kanye no more. They're not going to lose nothing behind that. They'll lose if they go against Ari for Kanye. They'll lose behind that. Right? But they're not going to lose if they go against Kanye for Ari, and they know that. So they just went with the side of the bread. They got the most butter on it. I'm not mad at them. Because when you come out of a community where nobody don't want to build power, and they think power is escapism and argue on the internet for 12 hours, and they don't want to build real, they don't want their men to be truly competitive, which is a whole nother issue that we're going to talk about later. They don't want their men to be truly competitive. You end up in these situations. You have individuals that get their legs cut off from under them, and everybody just stands back and watches it. Right? The PhD talked about Kanye West reads Dr. Claude Anderson and yada, 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 this, that, and the third. He don't, if Kanye West asking right now, what should we do? He wouldn't be able to get Kanye no answers because he don't know what to do because he got done the same way. He ain't gonna talk about that part. They did him the exact same way. This is how they do you when you all by yourself. And you don't want to invest in building this kind of power because everybody want to be celebrity and everybody want to be big time. Instead of building real power behind the scenes where you can push buttons. Because like I said, Ari's the face of this, but he's not the person that made this decision. This decision was made by people we never gonna find out who they are. And I'm not promoting no secret Jewish conspiracy, so I don't want people to say that. What I'm saying is that I know how power works. They just told Ari, we want you to be the face of this. That's why he wrote that article in the Financial Times. Let's keep going. Right? And we see nobody still can't answer this question. How come LeBron and Rich went with Ari and not Kanye? See, that's the issue. So the next question, how does Kanye do everything solo if he's cut out of banking, right? Manufacturing and logistics? We're going to get an answer. The people that say, well, you know, Kanye just could do it all on his own. Because we had a lot of people in my community page telling me that Kanye, he done figured this out, he did that. How does he do it if he's cut out all of that stuff? How do they do that? See, so this is what I'm saying. And I do this over and over again to prove a point to the people. When you're presented with questions on how to solve problems, many of us don't know. When we're presented with questions on how to actually solve problems in real time, many of us suffer. We went to college. These people said we were smart enough to get their degree. They said they were smart enough to employ us. But when presented with how to solve real problems in real time, many of us struggle. And we still don't make that connection. That's why I keep asking these questions over and over again to real problems, not hypotheticals. And I sit back and study how many people struggle, because what I want really is the younger generation to see these videos and realize I'm being miseducated in this country. That's what I want them to realize. I'm being miseducated because I see people that have come before me, they can't come up with solutions to real-time problems. These people got degrees, they got bank loans, they own homes, they got cars, they're gainfully employed, and they can't solve problems. But you see another group of people, when they had a problem, they figured out how to solve it real quick. And then they started implementing the solution. They didn't sit around on YouTube and talk about it for 30 hours. If you study Ari, did Ari get on YouTube and talk about this? Did Adidas and Balenciaga and Foot Locker do a YouTube live and talk about what they was going to do? No, they just went and did it. Wasn't nothing to talk about. Here's the problem. This is how we're going to do the solution. Everybody get on board. Okay, we roll it on out. Happened real fast. See? Because they've been trained to solve their problems. They've been trained by their group to solve their problems. They haven't been trained to jump on social media and talk about it for 12 hours. They've been trained to solve their problems. It's training. It's not just education, right? That's why I do this type of stuff. So understand something. Groups run the world, right? The world is run by groups. Individuals are given what they desire, which is what? False power that makes them feel empowered. We've given people in America false power. You a woman, you can go do whatever you want to do. False power. You a man, you can do whatever you want to do. False power. You can't do what you want to do. You do what we allow you to do, but we just gas you up to make you think you can do whatever you want to do. And we running your ass into a trap door, but you just don't see it. And by the time you see it, it's going to be too late to stop. But we gas you up thinking that we're going to give you what you want. Just keep walking down this road with us. And we're going to lead you straight into this trap door. Groups run the world. Individuals are given what they think they desire. Right? What do I desire? I want to sit on YouTube. I want to sit on social media and argue with people over what's right, what's wrong. I want to be disrespectful to people on social. I think that's my power. Right? I want to talk to people like they're crazy on social media. That's what I think my power is. I want to talk about black people like dogs on social media. That's what I think my power is. Well, they don't have none of those conversations, but they got real power because Kanye West minimum is liquid at around $100 million. He has more money than the majority of the world will ever make. And they still cut the guy off at his knees. Understand that. And I told people that when what I saw happen to Cosby. Cosby was a guy worth $300 million that was put in prison by a guy that made around $250,000 a year. And all those black people that was, you just got to do this and you just got to, I say, how come y'all didn't stand with Bill Cosby? Because they knew not to stand with Bill Cosby. Cosby was worth $300 something million. And a guy that made $250,000 a year put him in prison. And when they asked Cosby, can we get home confinement? His lawyer asked the judge, the man was legally blind in the state of Pennsylvania. He ain't gonna do nothing to nobody. Can we get home confinement? So can he just do his time in the house, be on community control? You know what they said? No, he got to go to jail. And they sent that man almost 80-some years old into prison. Right? Because why? Cosby was always by himself. Another one of these black celebrities, all by yourself. So all the other black celebrities know what time it is. We're individuals that have been allowed to be successful in this space, but we don't have a power base. So when one of us gets attacked by this institution, everybody else just runs away. Why? Because we don't have a power base. Right? We don't have a power base. Let's keep going. So we're going to talk about the power relationships. I'm going to give you some examples, right? I know by the hood through social media. Knew them through social. I started my options trading course. They was already attached to another guy. When I started training people on options, I was selling my time for $20 an hour for 3 hours, $60. They had another course they was associated with at a higher price point. What they did is they sent people to me that wanted to learn about options, but didn't want to pay their price point. Right? I really respected them for doing that. I jumped on one of their live streams. Camp had a situation up in Philly, because what people don't know about By the Hood, and is somebody on this YouTube right now, and it's a woman, I believe, was kind of talking to them like they were stupid without realizing that By the Hood, before everybody was on social media, they actually do this in real life. So for that woman that was talking about the hood like they was crazy on social media, that also be on my live stream, just understand they do this in real life. They don't still do this on social media. I was able to live stream in via Skype to one of their programs for young people. I taught them about the value chain, right? They have a kids camp every summer, right? I shot them something to support the kids camp. That's a relationship. These are relationships I have. So if they can help me do business, they did. If I can support what they doing, I do. One hand wash the other. Let me give you another scenario. Y'all might know who Lance is. Y'all might not know who Lance is. BHH Capital LLC, right? She's a real big, good trader. Real good on the technical analysis, right? She, out of nowhere, without even really knowing me like that on social, bought a program I had called The Perfect Offer to teach people how to compose offers. That was a $500 program, right? She spent that money with me online. Didn't even really know me like that. I tried to give her massive value. I believe by now she's made her money back plus some on the $500 course. Years later, I dropped my VIP course. I turned around and paid her $500, and I probably shouldn't have said that. So, Lance, excuse me if I put your business in the street, but I paid her to be in my VIP course, right? Why? Because she did business with me. So I keep the relationship going. See what I'm saying? So really, I believe that she got more value than what I paid, and I got more value than what I paid her, because I knew she could add an immense amount of value to my VIP course, because what I know is that a person could come into it. They may not understand what she's saying initially, but if they keep trading, they stay in the market. One day they're going to watch that video and everything she's saying going to make sense. So that's really an archive. It's like a library in there of content, right? Brought Mecca in. Mecca wouldn't let me pay her no money. So I couldn't pay her. Mecca wouldn't take money from it, right? But I also added Mecca in there because I know if a person keeps trading, one day they're going to watch that video with Mecca. It's going to add an immense amount of value. One thing about me is I try to keep the relationship going. I don't have to agree with everything everybody say. We don't have to be on the same page with everything, but I want to keep the relationship. Why? Because the world is run by groups. It's not run by individuals, right? Erica, right, helped me get a foothold on social media, especially on this YouTube. I'm going to tell y'all something. I ain't trying to put Erica business in the street. She reached out to me one time and asked me, did I want to be on this particular panel, right? But I couldn't do it because I was getting ready to travel and my money was tied up in another trip. She didn't have to do that, right? But she thought I could add value to that situation. So what I do is I try to keep that relationship. I couldn't go to her event in Austin for the same reasons, right? Finances. Because the way the economy looking right now, I'm really trying to sit on top of my paper because I really think that this thing's going to drop out next year. So I'm trying to really manage my paper real well, but trying to keep the relationship going. So if Erica got it, if Erica's working with somebody, I don't go attack that person. Why? Because I'm trying to keep the relationship going. So I'm not an individual acting in this. I'm associated with people. We got relationships, right? I've done a lot of business with Miss Alexander, right? She's bought a lot of stuff I've produced. She don't never have to buy nothing from me again, but I try to keep the relationship going. She may decide next year she don't want to talk to me anymore. That's cool. That's her decision. But I try to keep the relationship going. Why? Because we've done a lot of business together. So she may never do business with me again, but she may tell somebody about the business we done and bring another customer to me. You understand me? I don't think we understand relationships because we bought into this idea that everybody's this individual person. That's why we got these people on these dating shows in their 40s and their 50s talking about something. I want a man that makes $100,000 a year, but I want him to be a travel companion. You got to be crazy. But we don't understand relationships, right? We don't understand. We don't understand real relationships. And therefore, because we don't understand real relationships, we can't build real groups. And that's what I try to get people to understand. And where I come from, relationships is real serious. I know they're not as serious with other people. Like me personally, just because I don't like somebody don't mean you don't have to like them. I don't play that because we're not in a game. So I don't demand that kind of obedience. But we see in this situation, the word came out that Kanye West is no good. Everybody had to say Kanye West is no good. You see, nobody's standing with this guy that really can move something. We're not talking about the people on social media that's saying we got to support Kanye, but they can't offer no real support to Kanye, except maybe go buy his shoes. We talking about the people that can really offer him a safe harbor, that have provided and said, you know what? We can't offer him a safe harbor because that's bad business for us. That's how they play ball. I don't play ball like that. If I don't like somebody, you don't have to like them, because I don't think y'all really understand how to operate under those real politics. What you see Kanye West faced with is politics. These are real politics. Y'all don't understand how to operate under those real politics, but that's how people that actually run the world know, right? It's real politics out here that you got to operate under, that you got to adhere to, and you may not always agree with them, but it's better to be with the group than be against them. But what they've also done is use the media campaign to convince everybody that we got a group, but y'all just be individuals. Everybody just do their own thing. And then everybody just does their own thing. And then when they decide to cut you off, you all by yourself. Because groups are just terrible. You know, they're just the worst thing in the world, right? That's why I keep telling you, Mexicans come to Mexico. Mexicans come to America because of what Mexicans have done in Mexico. They don't come to America and say, you know what, let's all just do individual stuff. Chinese people come to America because of what Chinese people have done in China. You know what they don't come over here and say? Let's just all be individuals. They get with their group and they start building power with their group. Right? They don't buy into that media campaign. We do. So even though you got a guy worth $100 million, he has more financial success than 99% of the world. Still cut him off like he was nobody. That's the game. So we're going to read these comments, man. We're going to get up on out of here. We ain't going to be here long. I got to hit this gym. Got to hit this gym. So Black American news and television say talking about Black people online is profitable. It's easy to make money. Yeah, definitely. But there's no repercussion. So there's no repercussion from any group talking about Black people like you stupid on the internet. There's no repercussion. Because you don't have the group power, because the group power is not important, because Black groups are negative. So if I believe that Black people are negative, therefore Black groups are negative, therefore if I'm successful, an example of my success is the fact that I don't deal with Black people, then 2, I have not been developed to be competitive. See, competitive means you take things from people. They're taking stuff from Kanye. They don't have no guilt about that. We don't want to produce black men that take things from other people. Because why? We don't like that. We got to really deal with that one day. Is we don't want to produce competitive black men. Because the men of this group have taken things from Kanye and they don't feel no guilt about it. And they telling Kanye West, well, we'll sit down and educate you on what you need to say. They took stuff away from Nick Cannon. Well, they threatened to take stuff away from Nick Cannon till they got him back in line. We don't want to produce black men that can do that to other men. And we need to just accept that and stop lying to ourselves. We're not comfortable with that. And we need to just accept that because that's what it takes to get engaged in this kind of warfare. You have to produce a cadre of men that have the ability to take things from other men and they don't go to sleep at night worrying about why they did that. That's the game. And we need to accept that we're not at a place psychologically and emotionally where we're comfortable producing those type of men. And if we know how to produce those type of men and they have group loyalty, just like the Chinese Communist Party can send a member of their party to America and they'll come here and get all the information they can get and take it back to their people. They're loyal to their group. We don't understand how to produce that either. And we need to accept that instead of trying to escape away from the problem. But that's where we at right now. So people talk about competitive issues. These people are groups and they have resources and networks, definitely. Yeah, Ms. Lay, they did that. But, you know, people, if you don't know no better, then you don't know what you're saying. And I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying this person didn't. They just thought By the Hood is just some internet people. No, they was working in the real world for years before they ever jumped on the internet. They moved onto the internet to get more exposure. But I linked up with them on something that they was doing in real time. And I came in through the internet, but it was a real life situation for young people. But they thinking that By the Hood is like the rest of these internet dudes. No, they really do this stuff in real. They got investment groups in real life. Like they really move in the real world. That's one thing I like about them is they have a real world footprint and now they have an online footprint. You know, because I was one of the people that was fortunate enough to help consult with them on building out their online footprint. But they got both going on at the same time. Right. So, you know, but like I said, people don't know what they don't know. They in their mind, black men are 1, 2, 3 because that's their exposure. So they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing no different. You know, that's just very unfortunate. Yeah, definitely. You know how I go, Katrina. Yeah, a well-organized live beats a disorganized truth every day. Because PhD program, I know you know the fact, if you can define a word or if you can create the narrative, then it is what you say it is. Right? We think power is having these, 2-hour discussions on this, that. That's not power. Power is, it is what I say it is. And if you go against it, this is going to be detrimental to your situation. So it is what I say it is. So I don't think we think that that's the game is like, oh, I'm going to prove something. That stuff don't mean nothing to people in power. If I can print the book and put in the book what I want to be in the book, why do I care what the truth is? The truth is what I put in the book, and then I can make your children read the book. I got a member of my family, their children went to school in VA. They put in the books in VA for elementary school that the black people that came to America were immigrants. And we know that in 1619, a bunch of pirates kidnapped some black people from a slave ship and brought them to Jamestown. And I think the Jamestown colony or the Jamestown Corporation bought those particular slaves. They weren't immigrants. This has been recorded. This is recorded in Virginia. But if I can put in the book what I want to put in the book, and I can make you have your child read the book and have to accept it by testing them on the material in the book, it's whatever I say it is. It ain't about no argument. So once you let them put that in the book and give it to your child, they already won. Now you playing catch-up ball, trying to reprogram your child after the fact. And that's what we do to a lot of black children. They got to get reprogrammed after the fact instead of programming them right at the beginning. But that means that we got to have a group that can allow us to do that. That's not important to us. So everybody's supposed to get reprogrammed at an HBCU at 18 years old. It's too late by then. L Light, man, I appreciate the $10. So GC says, what good is a blockchain if folks don't want to use it and accept it? Definitely. And also if they don't have the ability to tap into it. We talked about one of the biggest issues with e-commerce in Africa is that most blacks in Africa don't have a banking system that allows them to do e-commerce. Right? So e-commerce can be the biggest thing in the world, but if we don't have a financial system that allows us to do e-commerce, then we can't do e-commerce, right? If the blockchain doesn't allow Black people in Africa to utilize it because of the limitations of it, then they can't tap into it. So these are the kind of things that we don't really understand. It sounds good on the internet, but in real life, it could be a different application, right? It could be totally different. So Kanye has spoken about being anti-China. Yeah, I mean, Kanye speak about a lot of stuff. He need to speak about how he gonna get himself back right with these situations that he got himself into. That's what he need to speak on. Because what he's trying to do now is present himself as a populist. Kanye is not a populist, right? He's not a populist, but he's trying to reinvent him because that's the only way he thinks. I think he can get back in there. Is he's a populist? He's not a populist. Stop it. You know, but that'll work on his audience. PhD, exactly right. The price of defending him is greater than the war protection, and that's how they set it up. They set it up to where defending that person, you'll lose more defending him than you'll get out of rewarding and protecting him. And then therefore, if you're, in my opinion, if you're not protecting him based on principle and you're willing to take those losses, then you won't protect him. And one of the things that we've seen in this particular country is we've had people stand up on principle and take massive losses, and everybody else gets scared because they don't realize in any competitive situation, you're going to take losses. You're going to lose people. That's how the game works. But a lot of people, that's nothing. They haven't had their people get killed in the struggle, but that happens. That you could some people gonna get 40 years in prison in the struggle, like that happens. But we don't even talk about those people anymore, that got incarcerated because they have political issues with the government. Those people have gotten erased from history for most Black folks, but we're living our life as a result of what those people did. But the goal is to be Kanye West or Candace Owens or, what's her name? Meg Thee Stallion. Like that's supposed to be our goal now, to be those people. They involve in this kind of over the top escapism. That's not based on real life. And they can get to those people the same way they get into Kanye. Them people by themselves. So Ari says maybe LeBron did his homework and realized he was not a good fit. So why was he on the show in the first place? Why did they interview him? They interviewed him and they decided not to air the interview. Okay. Yeah, you're right. They went with Ari because he's part of a more powerful group. Exactly. Because he represents them. So they know who Ari is because Ari is their representation. And so they don't want to mess it up with Ari because why? That's going to shut the doors on the stuff they're trying to do. So they, like I said, the reward for dealing with Kanye West is not so great that I'm going to cut off Ari for Kanye's. And I'm not going to do it on principle. So Kanye just got to figure it out. So I saw a meme saying Jay-Z came out. So the question, JLD, is that Jay-Z's under the same structure that Kanye West is under. See, we put in our mind that these people are like on this level that they're not on. And I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying we've done this because the only way we believe in them is if we believe this stuff. So we created this narrative of our mind that these people are on a level that they're really not on, right? They're really not. Because I'm going to say this again. We're not comfortable with Black men that are competitive enough to take things from other men. We're not comfortable with that. So therefore we can't produce those type of people. Outside of sports, we don't want to see that. It's cool in sports. Outside of that, we don't want to see it. Every other group, they know that's essential to their survival of their group. So they're taking things from Kanye. These men are involved in patriarchy. They're taking things from Kanye. Nobody's running out and saying that you're patriarchs. Everybody's just getting in line. No, nobody's telling them that. Nobody's telling him, hey, y'all are the white supremacists of the Jewish community. Everybody's just getting in line, aren't they? Because in their mind, this is what's supposed to happen. We're going to get him back in check. And in turn, it's going to get the rest of them back in check. That's what they're doing. We're going to get him back in check. And in turn, the rest going to get, because they're going to learn you only going to get so far with us and you're going to operate within the box we created for you. And you don't get outside that box. Now, you can make a lot of money in that box, but you don't get outside that box. And what Kanye West started doing was get outside that box and forgetting himself. I watch Game of Thrones a lot. It's about royalty, which is a hierarchy. They say a lot in that show. You're forgetting yourself. What are they saying? You're forgetting your place in this structure. Don't forget your place in this structure, because if you do, you're going to get checked real hard. That's what they do. So Kanye West forgot his place in the structure. So they're going to let him know and let everybody else know, this is your place in this. But Kanye West is living a good life. He's worth $100 million in their structure. Most of the world's never going to touch that kind of money ever in the history of their life. So he got to take what comes with that, which is what? You operate within the structure that they operate in. I mean, him operating in this structure allow him to get access to this woman. So in his mind, he made it. Ain't that what we're supposed to be working for? Or vice versa. I'm supposed to be a black woman and get access to one of their men. Ain't that what I'm supposed to be working for? Then I go live in Calabasas. And I forget about all of y'all, because y'all are problematic and yada, yada, this, that, and the third. So he got to take what comes with that. Right? You got to take it. So he got to take his spanking. He'll be all right. He got $100 million. He'll figure something out. He can go move to an island, just go live his life. Katrina says, what Elon? Elon done fell back. And I'm going to talk about something else with Elon and Twitter and China, but I'm going to get into that on another video. Definitely. So Erica says he only runs into communities in trouble with the other group. Yeah, 100%. PhD, I appreciate the $9.99. Maurice Peltz, I appreciate the $5. Okay, so I didn't know this, Mr. Russell. So Ari Emanuel's brother is Rahm Emanuel. Okay, so now it's all starting to make sense. It's all starting to add up now that you didn't drop that. Now it's all making sense. I didn't know that. So now I know why he moved how he moved. Okay, so this ain't nothing new to him. It's new to us. It ain't nothing new to him. Now I know why he moving how he moving. Okay, it's all starting to make sense now. See, I knew them dots was eventually gonna get connected. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. Appreciate the $1.99 super chat. So Erica says, I'm trying to buy land and farms. Y'all can have it in a minute. I feel you. You're not wrong either. You're doing just what you need to be doing. Erica says, folks gave up that asset power to talk crazy online on Facebook. Yeah, but they think that's the power. It's just amazing to me that why people think their power is talking crazy to people on social media. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. It's like people playing on the phone to me. Nobody plays on the phone anymore because they got social media. When I was coming up, people used to play on the phone. I never played on the phone either. I don't get it. But, you know, that's just the world we living in. So many black celebs try to reach out to Ye, and Kanye called them broke. I mean, in his mind, they might be broke. If you worth $100 million, a lot of people going to be broke to you. You know what I'm saying? That's just the thing. If you really got 100 million liquid, you balling. You know, we can't front on that. You know, that 99% of the world never will have that kind of money. You know, so he's made a lot of money following their structure. So Erica says, I've been telling folks we don't have enough to fight amongst. Yeah, I 100% agree, Erica. I 100% agree. But I think you get that. I don't think a lot of people get that. We're not in a position of power to fight over a lot of stuff that we don't have it. We're stretched too thin. So Erica, I don't think we really want to compete with these people. Yeah, I just don't. I think if we dog, this is what I really believe. We've been socialized to if I dog a black person, it's nothing to me. But if I dog somebody else, I'm worried about what's going to happen. Because I see what they do in the Kanye West. And they never do that to us if we do it to each other. So it's almost like a Pavlovian socialization. When we go at it with each other, there's never like a real big consequence publicly. When we go at it with somebody else, they make sure you get hung out to dry. And I think it conditions us to, well, man, I'm going to just leave them folks alone. So we spend all our time on each other. And, you know, you can build real big platforms on this YouTube going at each other. You go at anybody else, man, they'll take you off this YouTube. So black women do want black men to get in power. I don't agree. I don't agree because my question is, what initiatives do we have to put black men in position of power? So I would ask that, like, what initiatives from a policy standpoint, from a family standpoint, to put black men in a position of power? And I'm talking about real power. I'm not talking about, I want somebody that makes $100,000 a year as my travel partner, right? And I understand what comes with the power. So if I want a man to do X, Y, Z for me, I know what comes with that, right? So I would disagree with you, but we may have a different definition of power. You understand me? But I would ask, what initiatives do families have to put their sons in positions of power? Because this is the thing, Miss Black America Television News and Information. Even though, let's say I'm in a position of power, the women in my family, even though they're my elders, I'm still over them. Why? Because I'm in power. We're not really raised that way. We're raised that it's supposed to be a different dynamic. So even though the elders, the women in my family are older than me, if I was raised to be in a position of power, I'm still in power. Why? Because I was raised to be in this position. So when the time comes for me to take this position, even the elder women in my family, they still have to be subservient to my power position. These are the kind of things I don't think we really understand because we're really not comfortable with this. And that's really part of our conditioning, but we might just have to agree to disagree on that. So look who owns Brooklyn Nets now, CEO of Alibaba, definitely. But you know that the Russian guy owned it before, but they told us Jay-Z owned it. Jay-Z he was an owner, but he didn't own it. And I don't take nothing away from Jay-Z. He did that to get deals in the NBA. You know, Jay-Z wanted deals in the NBA with the 40-40 club, things of that nature. So he jumped on that situation. And I'm not mad at him for being part of that deal. That's a big deal. I don't care if you're in it for 1%. That's a massive deal. But they told us that he was the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. No, that wasn't true. No, I'm not mad at him for being in that deal. That's a massive deal. I don't care if I own 0.1000%. I'm in the deal. So I can now tell people I was in that Brooklyn Nets deal. So I'm not mad at him for being in that deal. But they told us he was the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. I was like, no, I don't know if Jay-Z got that kind of money. He got some money, but I don't know if he got that. And Elon now by himself, he got definitely. And GC, he was produced by his father. And that's what we don't talk about. He didn't just pop up. His father produced him. And they produced him to be in power. And people are comfortable with Elon being in power. He buying stuff, firing people. He just fired the whole top team of Twitter. Ain't nobody talking about he is the African-American supremacist of the white community, even though he is an African-American by definition. He running the show right now. But they're comfortable with that. They at a high comfort level when somebody that looked like him is calling shots and dictating and letting people go and saying we go. They 100% in comfort level. Because they think that's how it's supposed to be. Right? That's the narrative that they've drawn in their head. The same as a group who went to Panama could take over a city. Definitely. I'll never going to forget what you told me. And trust me, I'm going to apply it. That if you take a small group of people, you can take over a whole city if just doing it through real estate. Don't think that's lost to me. Just got to get in position. We're going to do it. Mr. Biden, appreciate the $9.99. What's going on, Essence? Yeah, it's been a while. Big up the VA. Yeah, we don't. No, we don't. Because we're not comfortable. We don't think that's what we should be doing. So other groups are comfortable taking stuff from us. And they're comfortable engaging in patriarchy. Right? And we don't understand what you're seeing with Kanye West is real patriarchy. Patriarchy got nothing to do with women. Women are a byproduct of it. It has to do with men attacking other men. Right? That's what it's about. If you look at the Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, the young men in the families that got issues with each other, the one just got killed, that's patriarchy. Right? The one said, how you going to try to take my throne away from my brother? And in that conflict, he killed him. That's one less person we got to worry about sitting in the throne. Why? Because he's a male. So the heir to Driftmark is dead. That's patriarchy. We've been taught through the internet that patriarchy is against women, are a byproduct of it because the women are attached to the men. So when we produce a bunch of men and we've been taught that patriarchy is negative, then you don't produce competitive men. Just don't, because patriarchy is negative. While they're engaged in patriarchy, right? And he's telling, until you repeat the narrative we want you to repeat, you're no good. That's patriarchy. That's why they educate you and feed you their education, because you're going to repeat what they want you to repeat, right? You don't get to educate yourself. Now, you can do it on the internet, but if you're going to do business in this town and you're going to cut these deals, you got to say we want you to say. That's how they did Nick Cannon. So you says, who going to start the move? So Champ Moses, I would ask you, why don't you start the move with your group? So why are you waiting for somebody else? Why don't you and your group start the move? See, because I think another issue is that we think it takes this nationwide mass movement. This is not a nationwide mass movement against Kanye. These are a group of people. It's not the majority of people. It's a small group, but they got a lot of power. So if we're going to ask who going to do it, I would say, well, why don't you and your group start doing what y'all need to do? Because I thought black people need to learn more about the financial system and start trading. And I didn't care what nobody said. I just started teaching black people how to trade. I didn't care what somebody thought about it. Didn't matter to me. Because I know what I'm trying to produce. So it didn't matter what nobody had to say. I didn't care. Right? Because I wasn't going to sit on YouTube and argue with it with people over the next 10 years. I just was going to go do it. But I'm a line pusher. I'm going to push a line. That's just my personality. So everybody don't have the same personality. I'm a line pusher. I'm going to push a line, homie. That's what I'm going to do. Everybody got a position to play in this. I'm going to push a line, though. That's what I'm going to do. You dealing with a line pusher. Lindell Moore, appreciate it, man, for the $19 super chat. So Reggie Lewis and Robert Smith. Okay, L, like we can agree to disagree. Appreciate the $4.99, Sarah. Katrina, people still playing the phone. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I ain't had nobody playing on the phone in some years. I don't really be on the phone like that no more. But yeah, to me, everybody stopped playing on the phone to play on the internet. But yeah, people used to play on the phone back when I was coming up. It's like, man, this stuff is weird. Calling people and hanging up and all kind of crazy stuff. See, that's the thing, Champ. If they take his music off the streaming platforms, he loses that revenue. So even though he got his publishing, his music is not. See how they taking stuff from this dude? And they letting everybody else know this is what we gonna do to you. So it ain't just him, it's all the other black celebrities. That's why everybody got in line. And there's a deeper connotation to this, but I don't want to take y'all into no street business because there's a guy that talked about it. He really broke it down. But people in power know how to get other people in line because they know that these people are attached to these systems and they're not in power. But we made them aspirational. How can you be worth $100 million with no power in your environment? That's just crazy to me. But it's not when you can be Bill Cosby and worth $300 million and a guy that makes $250,000 can send you to prison with little or no trouble. Not for no violent crime, some old stuff. And in reality, you gave a deposition and they said if you give the deposition, you can't go to jail for what you say in the deposition. And then they turned around and prosecuted you for what you said in the deposition and you had to go to jail. Bill Cosby could have died in jail, which is what they wanted to happen to him. And I'm not defending Bill Cosby. I don't really like Bill Cosby like that. What I'm saying is that he's worth $300 million and has no power. That's a lot of money to have no power. But that's this system. And then he's supposed to be aspirational. I want to be a $300 million Negro with no power. I want to be a $1 billion Negro like Oprah with no power. But I got $1 billion, got no power though. They just do me how they want to do me. I don't even know Ari got the kind of money Kanye got, but he able to push a button on Kanye. You can believe that. So Erica says, all these black wholesalers fighting to sell the whole hood when builders are buying left and right. House builders, millions, wholesalers running on e-power. Feel you. That's how I go. Appreciate the $10 super chat. We got to start fighting each other, but we like to fight each other, Erica. That's what get us excited. I realized that a long time ago. That's something I had to deal with myself. We like to see other black people get hurt. We love that. And other people could walk through our neighborhoods and they safe. It's crazy. You see that in Atlanta. They in Edgewood just chilling. You go through Edgewood, they might try to kill you. It's crazy. That's just how we've been socialized. So do black men really want power? So all things Nada Jean, I would say, have they been socialized to want it? Right? Because to me, your desires are about socialization. So to me, a child doesn't want anything except food and attention. Then they're socialized to want these things from their group. So my question is that if we have a family that includes black men, has the group socialized those black men to want to have power? Have they been socialized? Because the group feels that that is a necessity to benefit and to continue to push forward the goals of the group. If the group feels that the goals of the group can be pushed forward without black men being in power, then therefore they don't socialize black men to be power. Because there's a detriment to being in power, right? You can try to exert your power over another group and they could come over and kill everybody. So you have to believe that the only way we survive and continue to push forward the goals of the group is for our men to be in a position of power, and we're willing to deal with the downside of that. There's a really good movie you may want to watch that is a dramatization of what I'm talking about. It's called Valkyr. There was a man who was a member of the German army. He and his group decided we need to assassinate Hitler. He was married. It didn't work. As a result, his wife had to be incarcerated. The children were sent to an orphanage. Why? Because they didn't win. But she supported him on that mission. Why? Because the only way my family wins is if my men are successful exerting power over the situation, which means what? We got to kill Hitler. If you don't believe that that's what needs to take place, then you don't do the socialization, which means what? Why would they want something they haven't been socialized to have? Right? Children are born with no real desires except for basic needs. They're socialized to want everything else. It's through their socialization, through their exposure, through their education system, through the media, through their church institutions. Right? Ari comes out of a different environment where he's been socialized, and what he's doing to Kanye West is perfectly appropriate. The women around Ari are saying, well, what if that goes the wrong way? Or you're a patriarch, right? Or you're toxic masculinity. I guarantee he's not getting those messages. And he's never gotten those messages his whole life. I guarantee you that. Right? Because I know what Rahm Emanuel was involved in. It's some heavy stuff. The women around him are not telling him he's involved in toxic masculinity because they're benefiting from him being successful. That benefits their group. So I think black men currently don't want power because their family doesn't know how to socialize them, because they don't want black men to be in power, because they're not comfortable with black men being in a position of power, because we're the only group that when black men make a mistake, we blame black men and their inherent flaws. And the Chinese can kill almost 1 billion Chinese, and you won't find one Chinese person to say, you know what? What's wrong with China is Chinese men. They can do sex selective abortion and kill over 1 million Chinese girls, and you won't find any Chinese people to say, we know what's wrong with Chinese people. Chinese men. That's what's wrong with Chinese people. They have toxic masculinity. They socialize their men to be in positions of power. Right? So that's what I think. We're not really ready to deal with that because we don't believe it benefits our group, because we don't have a group. We got a bunch of individuals trying to live their best life. So if I got a bunch of individuals that's just trying to live their best life, I don't need my men to be in position of power. For what? What do I need that for? I don't have a group that I need to be protected. That's how the game works. So you got to realize selfish love. I wasn't raised just by black men. My mother also raised me. My grandmother also raised me. My aunts also raised me. So everybody's raised different. I wasn't raised just by other black men. So part of my socialization for what I think is appropriate in the world also comes from my mother. So when we see other men do what they do, part of that socialization comes from the women that raised them. Right? That's why I tell people all the time, these kids that's going out here and shooting up these schools, why don't we ask them how they was raised to think that was appropriate behavior? But we can't blame their mother for what we do. We only blame black women for how their children conduct themselves. When these kids go shoot these schools up, we never say, well, how did their mama raise them? This started back with Columbine. Why was they raised to think that was appropriate to react to the situation that way? We talk about mental health and drugs and all, but when it's black children, it's Well, their mama didn't raise them to do that. So like I said, we have a dynamic that's designed to keep black men out of positions of power. And we have a dynamic that's designed to where it's anti-group. And we also got a dynamic design that's anti-black. Because we always go back to the things that are not essential to the group. Then my question is, what's important to the group? Because if I know what's important to the group, I know how the children are going to be raised. So if a child is born, what's important to that family? What's important to that family is how that child's going to be raised. That's all I need to figure out. I don't care if it's a single mother, an intact family. What's important to the members of the family? What is important to them? That's exactly how that child's going to be raised. So if it's important to the family that we produce men that are going to be in positions of power, then that's how the child's going to be raised. If all I'm trying to produce is a well-behaved child, why do I need him to be in power to be well-behaved? He can be subservient and be well-behaved and not be in a position of power, right? The Emmanuels weren't raised to be well-behaved. They was raised to exert power. That's why they get involved in what they get involved in. So Katrina says, maybe these women who want 100K travel party need to talk to women. Yeah, but Katrina, none of the relationship content is done with married women. It's all done by single women. So we got single women counseling single women on how to get married. That's the game. You know, that's where the money's at. Dex, I appreciate it, man. So Erica says 2 to 5 people, credit, cash, or high-paying jobs can buy up the city or neighborhood, hit a raise alert and work with like-minded people. Y'all better link up with Erica, man. Y'all better get with her before she move on, because she already took it. She already took the game international by going to Panama. So see, just why would they take his music off Spotify? Because they punishing him. See, that's weird to you. It's not weird to men that's in positions of power. See what I'm saying? That's weird to you. Like I keep telling you, it's weird to you. It's your socialization, right? Why would Rahm Emanuel go through all them efforts to shot, to not allow people to really see how McDonald really was shot? Right? That might be weird to us, but to him, that's perfectly normal. Why? Because I'm in a position of power. Okay, CG, I don't understand what you said, but I'm not gonna repeat narratives that don't make sense. Like I said, y'all can argue on the internet all you want to. That's not my thing. Yeah, Valkyrie. Somebody pronounced it wrong. But if you study, she went to prison behind what her husband did. She never told him don't do it though. But she knew the implication. Look, she didn't end up dead playing with the Nazis. But she knew the implications of what her husband was doing, and he got killed behind it. But how else were they going to get in power? You weren't going to talk Hitler out of his position. It wasn't going to happen because he showed what he was willing to do to have that position. So the only way to get him out of that position would be to kill him. You weren't going to talk the man out of his position. He wasn't going to walk away. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? But she was already socialized that my husband, who's already an officer in the army, right? This is normal behavior for the men of my group to be involved in these type of power politics. That wasn't abnormal to her. But for a lot of women, it would be abnormal. They would say, man, don't get involved in that. Just do your time and get out. But they were 100% convinced that Hitler is going to drive Germany into destruction. We got to get him out of position, right? And nobody really talks about why Hitler was in power. Multiple groups tried to assassinate that guy. They just didn't, well, nobody was able to pull it off. His security was too high. A lot of people tried to kill Hitler. Everybody wasn't going along with what he was doing. He just had so much power because he understood I got to take power. And the woman he was with didn't have no issue with him taking power. And he was socializing Germans that we need to have power. We just can't be just a regular country. That's how he was trying to socialize his people. We got to have power out here. It didn't go the way they wanted it to go, but I mean, Germans almost took over the whole world. And they're not a big country. All right, JLD, I appreciate, man. Yeah, keep looking up Amos Wilson. A lot of really good stuff. He really taught me the psychology behind the way a lot of black people conduct themselves. And that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, because we think, you know, people are born with desires. Children are born with a desire to get fed and to get hugged and stuff like that. All this other stuff is socialization. So we don't understand our socialization, and our socialization a lot of times is based on the socialization of the people that are raising us. Right? So that's what we don't understand. You know, it's a reason why Elon conducts himself the way he does, and he thinks he can do. It's not just the money. He's been socialized by his parents, and nobody wants to admit that. His parents have socialized him. That's why he keeps getting all them girls pregnant, because he just thinks he can do that. That's his socialization. Because we live in a world, and you understand this because you was in the military, and I don't want to take this too far left, but I'm going to just be real with you. The one country that got their freedom by killing white people has been getting punished since then. This is how they reinforce that that's not the thing to do. But I'm going to leave that alone, because I end up like Kanye. Appreciate selfish love. I don't think people mean submission, Katrina, because it's the thing, Katrina. You're not my wife, right? You're a married woman. I talk to you all the time. Have I ever said that you needed to submit to me? We have a professional, cordial relationship. But I know a lot of people, male and female, they just, everything with them got to be antagonism. I don't get it. And I don't want to get involved in it, so I just leave it alone. You know, I just think we've been socialized that attacking each other and undermining each other is the only thing that we should be involved in. And as a result, you can't build doing that. And we think any negative thing about a black person is inherent to that group. I don't think that because a black woman does something wrong, that reflects on all black women. That's that individual woman. That's what she did. But we teach black people, because this is part of anti-blackness, white supremacy, that if a black person makes a mistake, it's a flaw in all black people, and then it splits between male and female. This is the socialization, because this don't work unless we engage in it, because they don't even have to do it. They got us to do it to each other. So because submission is a loaded term. I don't like to use the term submission because it's a loaded term. But I deal with black women all the time. And if they got some sense, we can come to an agreement and work. If they have no sense, I can't deal with them, because I'm not going to fight you all the time, because you don't really want to fight. What you want to do is just do this crazy. You don't really want to fight, and you don't want to support people that want to fight. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about these people. So I just think it's really a socialization to where there has to be so much antagonism, because that's what we're comfortable at. And we're not comfortable against other groups and being antagonistic with them, because we receive all our benefit from them. Because we see what Kanye, once he got into a problem with this group, they're stripping him of everything. If a black group has a problem with what some other black person's saying, they have very little in resources that they can do to that person. So we teach black people that it don't matter if black people got a problem with you, even within your own family. It don't mean nothing. So a question I keep asking is that, what is the goal of that group? So if I'm looking at a black group, the submission, is that necessary to put forth the goals of the group? This is what Amos Wilson taught us. All we got to do is look at the group. If I'm looking at a group of 5 people, 6 people, 3 men, 3 women, what are the goals of that group? Do those goals require the women to be submissive? If they do, then they got to be submissive. If not, then they don't have to be. So all I look at is the goals of the group. And then because social media is so big now, you can talk to so many different people, we see the goals of the group. If I'm a woman and all I want to do is travel the world and live my life, that don't require me to be submissive, because I just need a travel partner. So that's the goal of that group. And then if she has children, the goal of her is to condition her child that her son, you're just supposed to be a good companion to a woman. Because all I want to see, so I understand once I learn the goal of that group, then I know what kind of people they're going to produce, right? Deion Sanders has goals for Jackson. He's telling me what kind of people I'm going to produce because I know his goals. All I do is look at the goals. If a woman tells me or a man tells me, this all I want to do is make some money and escape away from black people. But then I know what kind of people he's going to produce because he let me know his goals. He can't produce anything outside of his goals because that's the kind of environment that he's going to create. And that's how he's going to socialize the people around him, right? So I just look at the goals of the group. I wouldn't say it requires submission. I would say, what are the goals of the group? And if the goals of the group require submission, then you got to do it. The goals of the group might not require submission, right? It just might not. But what are the goals of that particular group? So when black women get in a better position, they take all their gains of other group of women. So that's false. The majority of black men are married to black women, but this is the kind of stuff that we do on the internet to get into arguments. You know, we create false narratives and, you know, and I'm not like Ari, I can't make you repeat the narrative I want you to promote. But this is what we do. We create false narratives. We act out. We emote on the internet, right? And then it creates the argument. And then now we get the attention we want. And yeah, that's why I say this ain't got nothing to do with power, right? Because you saying black men as an absolute. Well, my father's not married to a black woman. My father's not married to a white woman. My grandfather wasn't married to a white woman. My uncle's not married to a white woman. So that's why I don't do it with y'all, man. I just let y'all do what y'all do, man. Because I know your goals of your group are not to be in power. The goals of your group is to argue on the internet. So I'm not mad at you. Do what you do. Appreciate it, Mr. Brown. Devotion, appreciate it, 1999. So Nicole Michelle is a married black lady who produces content to help single ladies get married. Okay, I might have to check her out. So Liddell says, money without power to protect your freedom is useless. Relationships matter. So Erica says, Hitler has so much money his family sued for and finally got a 19. I didn't know that. That's crazy. I'm surprised they gave that up. Good Lord. I know he was banking all that money they was getting. So Jesus says, look at who his father got pregnant. You immediately understand why. Okay, I got to check that out. Yeah, hey, everybody know what time it is with them. But that's why they've been pressing on them the whole time because of how they got their freedom. So they keep showing you the example. You're not supposed to get your freedom like that. But what else are you supposed to do? You're supposed to let these people just keep doing this to you? Yeah. You're supposed to try to negotiate for it. So what they did is inexcusable to the people in power. So we're going to keep pressing on those people and keep pressing on them, because we're showing us that that's never the direction that you go in. Because why? You don't produce people that compete with us on this level. It's socialization. Appreciate it, Miss Khan with the British pounds. Appreciate you from the UK. So Katrina says submission is just following somebody's program. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I would say, Katrina, what's the goal of the group? Right? So what is the group goal? Because anytime you go into like a job, the job has a mission statement, and then based on what department you work in, you got goals. So it was always interesting to me, like I said, is socialization, that people can go to work and they can adhere to the goals of the group, else they're going to have to get out. But they've been taught in personal relationships, I just do my own thing. And that's cool if that's what they want to do. So then I know what kind of people they're going to produce because of the goal of that particular group. The issue is that when you start raising children under that dynamic, then you continue to perpetuate this idea, right? So like I said, is that I don't think we want black men in positions of power for a whole lot of different reasons. And it's because of our socialization. And I don't think submission may come into it if you just say it's following somebody's program, because we follow somebody's program all the time. Because when I drive down the highway, I try to drive the speed limit and I don't cross the lanes. So I'm following somebody's program. But we socialize people that in interpersonal relationships, doing that is negative. But you see, in this situation, everybody got on the same page. So they were submissive to what the plan that Mr. Emmanuel rolled out. You see, ain't nobody talking about you trying to police Kanye's voice. None of that. They're submissive to the plan he rolled out. And it's women in this too. It's not just all men. There's women involved in this effort against Kanye. But you see, that's not the narrative that they're rolling out. Everybody got on the same page and they moving forward. And they finna roll Kanye over. He keep playing with these folks. He need to have somebody sit him down and say, man, just apologize, dude. Because you can't beat these people the way you're trying to beat them. And these people on the internet can't help you. And they just trying to live through you, but they can't help you do anything you're trying to do. He can't get not one deal with these folks on the internet. Yeah, Haiti, they're gonna keep on paying the price. They never gonna let that go. Because it's inexcusable. What Haiti did is inexcusable based on the construct that we're operating under. It's inexcusable. They're never gonna let that go. I feel bad for Haitians because they didn't do anything wrong. In fact, they did the exact same thing that the American revolutionaries did, but because of who they did it to and because of the system, it has to be perceived as negative. That's why, it's really not about freedom and independence and things of that nature. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. But that's the situation that they're in. And it's also really unfortunate that they don't have anybody to partner with that can help them, because everybody else has been socialized that black men are not supposed to be in power. And so nobody can help them. They just on their own. And they just going to continue to get picked off. Very, very unfortunate. Yeah, I don't know how they would get leverage. They're in a very bad situation. Like if you're number one, if one of the biggest countries in the world, which is the United States, is pressing on you, I don't know how you get leverage. And you're a small country, you don't have a large population, because Haiti problem is that how does it become a benefit to the United States to where the United States lays off of them a little bit? Because they're not even like China where they have a large population. Maybe they can do a labor exchange, things of that nature. They're just in a really tough spot. But China didn't get their freedom the way Haiti did. Right? I just think people are disregarding that. The way Haitians got their freedom. They got their freedom in a very unique way. It created a negative reaction in the United States when people heard about the revolution in Haiti. They literally got scared. Right? They didn't want that to spread into the U.S. That's why this dude talking about people chose slavery. So question is he choosing what's happening to him right now? Why he not doing something about it? You see what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, I don't, he's a good entertainer. He make real good music. I can take that from him. Yeah, I feel you, Shahara. So we're gonna get up and out of here, man. We've been here 140, and I know most people not gonna watch the video all the way through because of the content. But I appreciate everybody for coming through. Denise, and let me hit the last one up. We don't value power until we need it. In fact, we fear even attempt. Yeah, you're 100%. But that's socialization, Mr. Prod. This is socialization. That's what I tell people. When you really study Amos Wilson, he gets people to understand the socialization of us that makes us act out a certain way in our environment. And it's unconscious because we've been socialized. And it's from every area. And we're not even aware of it. Then we just act it out. And then we argue about what we don't have without realizing that we're participating in making sure things stay we want it to say. Right? And the way we conduct ourselves to other groups, it is illogical. It is illogical for Chinese people to come to America and say, well, because of what Chinese people are doing in China, I don't deal with Chinese people. That is illogical to them after everything they've been through. But it is logical for us to say this type of stuff about each other. So we see why we can't build power. Because where's the group at? Right? So that's the thing. So Erica says, if Haiti had 1 million of them sending home 100 a week like Latinos, Haiti will have Miami in 5 years. I agree with you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Amika, you know what it is. It's freedom for them, but it's not for nobody else. That's just how it works. Because that's why I say people really need to study how Americans reacted to the revolution in Haiti. They got very scared when they heard that it happened, because they realized that could happen here, especially in a lot of states in the South, where the enslaved population was almost greater or even greater than the white population. Right. And that was one of the reasons that happened in Haiti, was that Haiti was such a big corporate state for France. There was so many more slaves than the people that was holding them enslaved. Once it tipped over, there was nothing they could do. They got run, but it was making so much money keeping the dynamics like that. And so as a result, to keep that dynamic going, the slavery was extremely harsh. In Haiti, they worked the slave to death and bought another one. There was no real breeding program. They just work you to death. It made more money for them to work you to death and just purchase another one. So they just churned slaves like that. Those people just got sick of that stuff. Right? I don't see why that's illogical, but it's just illogical what they did to get it, because they're supposed to, I guess, beg for freedom or hope that God comes down on the cloud and gives them their freedom. No, that's not what the colonists did. But like I said, it's a different set of rules for them than it is for everybody else. Just like, the guy that says, give me freedom and give me death, at the same time was stealing labor from African people. But he wants freedom from the British, but he's stealing. So you got to realize these people exist on a lot of hypocrisy. That's just how they roll. So that's why I don't expect to get honesty from them, because I know how this system is set up. So we're going to get up on out of here, man. So I appreciate everybody for coming through. Just be safe out there. Be getting ready to go into the end of the year. Make sure you hit your goals, man. And like I said, work on your relationships. One thing I try to do is I try to ask myself, how do I keep the relationship with what I'm doing, as long as the relationship's not detrimental to what I'm trying to do? So I try not to put myself above the relationship. And nobody's perfect. Everybody has bad days, this, that, and the third. But the world is based on relationships. It's not just based on what I'm doing as an individual. So how can I build better relationships with people and keep things going, and not just put how I feel at the moment above the relationship? Because I really think if people looked at their marriage like that, they would stay in marriage a lot longer. But like I said, we've been socialized that how I feel a lot of times at that moment is greater than a relationship and what we're trying to accomplish. And again, what is the goal of the group? Anytime I'm looking at a group of people, I know what kind of people they're going to produce by the goal of the group. Hit me with a like on your way out. We got like 204 people watching. We got like 100 likes. All you got to do is just hit the like button one time. Y'all be easy, man. I got to get into this gym before 8 o'clock. Peace.